There's a moment before every great leap when your stomach tightens, your mind races, and every cell in your body begs you to turn back. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that girl you never asked out, that application you never sent, that idea you never shared, not because it wasn't worth it, but because fear whispered, what if it goes wrong? Psychologists have discovered something brutal. The pain of rejection lights up the same region of the brain as physical injury. That means your fear isn't imaginary, it's chemical, but just because it's real doesn't mean it's right. That voice in your head, the one that hesitates, delays, rationalizes, it's not your protector, it's the gatekeeper, and it only shows up when the path ahead actually matters. It doesn't guard the ordinary, it stands in front of the extraordinary. Stephen Pressfield said, its straight resistance will tell you anything to keep you from doing your work. It will purge or fabricate, it will seduce you. Resistance is always lying and always full of crap, and yet most people believe it. They confuse discomfort with danger, hesitation with wisdom, fear with truth. But fear is not a verdict. It's a signal, a flare going up from the edge of your potential. It's not there to stop you, it's there to ask you a question. Are you ready to earn this? That gate doesn't open for thoughts, it opens for action, and the louder the fear, the closer you are to something that could redefine your life. The tragedy isn't that we're scared, that's human. The tragedy is that we let fear set the limits on who we become. But here's the secret no one tells you. Fear only grows in silence. The moment you move, speak, ask, try, it shrinks. Because the gatekeeper, it's you, and the only way out is through. So the next time you feel that cold hand on your shoulder, the next time your chest tightens and your mind races, don't turn away. That's not the moment to pause. That's the moment to knock. Because on the other side of that fear is not just the thing you want, it's the person you're meant to be. And when you walk through that door, trembling, uncertain, alive, you won't forget that sound, the sound of fear clanging at your heels, because you'll know what it really was, the cost of admission. Every meaningful life has a line across it, a threshold, and to cross it you're going to have to pay. Joseph Campbell called it the refusal of the call, that moment in every hero's story where they hesitate, not because the call isn't noble, but because the price is real. In myth, the hero crosses into the unknown by surrendering something familiar. Inanna strips away her royal robes. Theseus enters the labyrinth knowing he may not return. Luke Skywalker leaves the only home he's ever known. Every one of them risks identity, safety, and comfort, because that's what growth demands. You don't get to bring your old life into your new one. Carl Jung said it best, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek, but he left something out. You don't get to keep both the fear and the treasure. You'll have to leave something behind. And that's the part no one wants to talk about. We fantasize about becoming more, stronger, freer, fuller, without ever naming what we're willing to sacrifice. But the truth is, the version of you who got you here is not the one who can take you further. You have to let that version die. Not physically, emotionally, habitually, psychologically. You have to let go of being liked, of being safe, of being perfect, of being in control. You have to surrender the small story to live the bigger one. There's a tribe in the Amazon, the Satere Mawe, where boys prove their readiness for manhood by placing their hands into gloves woven with bullet ants. The sting is ranked among the most painful on earth. And they don't do this once, they do it 20 times. Because they believe something most of us have forgotten. A life without suffering anything, without any kind of effort, isn't worth living. That's the threshold price. And in your world, it may not involve venom, but it will involve risk. It might be quitting what's stable. It might be admitting what you really want. It might be leaving behind the mask you've worn for years. But make no mistake, you will pay. And if you refuse to, the cost doesn't go away. It just comes in another form, as regret, as numbness, as a life that looks fine from the outside but feels hollow on the inside. You don't get to stand in both places forever. Eventually, you'll have to decide, will I stay here in the known and shrink, or will I cross, uncertain, exposed, and rise? Because no one ever becomes a warrior by watching the battle from a distance, and no one becomes more by clinging to who they were. So when the edge appears, and it will, don't look down, look forward. The unknown is not your enemy, it's your test, and the only way to become who you're meant to be is to walk through the fire. That's the toll, and that's the point. There's a moment in every life when the question is no longer optional, When the window doesn't just open, it dares you to jump. And you know that if you walk away, you'll carry that silence forever. The moment doesn't look heroic, it looks ordinary. A name in your phone, a door you haven't knocked on, an idea sitting in your drafts, a dream you haven't told a soul because it sounds too big for someone like you. But here's what they never told you. The ask is the transformation. The act of stepping forward, scared, exposed, real, is the moment you stop watching your life and start owning it. In the military, there's a moment called the crucible. 54 hours, no sleep, minimal food, march after march, drill after drill. It's not about who's strongest. It's about who still moves when nothing is left in the tank. That's the ask. It's not the finish line. It's that voice inside that says, I'm still here, because everything changes when you ask, not when you receive, not when you win, when you ask. It's why Brian, a hardware store employee for 22 years, changed his life the moment he mailed in his first invention. It got rejected, so did the next 5, but when the 6th design hit, he was ready because he'd already changed. The win wasn't in the sale, the win was in the courage to begin. You think the ask is about outcome, but it's not. It's about reclaiming authorship of your own story. And yet most people never do, because the fear of rejection feels like death, because we've been trained to believe that failure defines us, but science disagrees. A study spanning decades at Cornell found that over 75% of people's deepest regrets were not about what they did, they were about what they didn't do, the missed chances, the silence that lasted too long, the feelings never said, the risk never taken. Do you understand what that means? It means that the pain you're trying to avoid today becomes the pain you live with forever. It means that the discomfort of trying is nothing compared to the devastation of never trying at all. And maybe you've convinced yourself you're not ready, that you need more time, more experience, more certainty. But what if I told you no one feels ready? Not before the call, not before the leap, not before the ask. Because readiness doesn't come first, it comes after. There's a woman named Cassie, single mom, 3 kids, no degree. She wanted to be a nurse, but had dropped out years ago. She felt too old, too far behind, too tired. But one day, while helping her son with homework, she heard herself say, if you care about something, you don't quit on it. That night, she filled out the application. She didn't know how she'd pay for it. She just knew she couldn't lie to her kids or herself any longer. 4 years later, she was working night shifts in the ER, saving lives. That ask, it didn't just give her a career, it gave her back to herself, because the ask doesn't just open doors, it changes who walks through them. So maybe it's time to stop waiting. Stop scripting your rejection in advance. Stop assuming the worst. Stop protecting yourself from a pain that hasn't even happened yet. Because the truth is, the person on the other side of that ask, the one who applied, the one who spoke, the one who showed up anyway, that person is someone you haven't met yet. But they're waiting, and they're powerful, and all it takes is one question you've been too afraid to ask. Chapter 4. Paying in advance. Everyone wants the reward, but almost no one wants to pay for it. Not up front, not in silence, not when no one's watching. We live in a world obsessed with the highlight reel. Success stories without the sweat, triumph without the toll. But that's not how it works. The truth is simple. The people who win paid for it long before anyone noticed. The Beatles played over 1,200 shows in dingy German clubs before they ever reached America. That's 8 hours a night, night after night, with no screaming fans, no record deals, and no promise it would ever matter. They didn't grind for the spotlight. They became the spotlight because of the grind. But it goes deeper than just effort. There's something else at play. Psychologists call it the IKEA effect. It means you value what you build yourself, because effort creates meaning. That's why you can't shortcut greatness. Because when you sweat for something, when you give your hours and your nights and your doubt and your silence, you don't just achieve more, you become more. The cost doesn't just buy the result. It builds the identity that can handle the result. And that's what people miss. They want the love, but not the vulnerability, the platform, but not the obscurity, the strength, but not the discipline, the recognition, but not the repetition. But life doesn't work on credit. You can't borrow greatness. You have to pay in full, in advance. And yes, that payment looks different for everyone. For some, it's physical, early mornings, sore limbs, no days off. For others, it's emotional rebuilding after heartbreak, showing up after loss, trusting again when it would be easier to close the door forever. For most, it's invisible, the decisions no one sees, the pain no one applauds. There's a father named Matteo who cleans buildings at night and drives a bus in the morning. No vacations, no posts, just 20 years of invisible labor so his daughter could be the first in their family to graduate college. You think he wanted to wake up at 3 a.m.? You think he wasn't exhausted? Of course he was, but he paid anyway because he understood something we forget. Sacrifice isn't a loss, it's an investment. And no, it doesn't always pay off how you expect. Sometimes the business fails, sometimes the dream shifts, sometimes the payoff is something you never even knew to want. But the pain, the effort, it's never wasted. Because the version of you who walks through that fire, the version forged in rejection, in doubt, in the dark, that version is someone you'll respect for the rest of your life. Thomas Paine said, "What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value." And that's why struggle matters, not because suffering is noble, but because it makes the victory real. There's something you need to remember right now, especially if you're in the middle. If it feels hard, if it feels heavy, if it feels endless, that's not a sign to quit. That's a receipt, proof that you're paying, proof that you're in. And one day when the door opens, when the lights come on, when they ask how you did it, you won't talk about luck. You won't talk about talent. You'll talk about the nights no one saw, the mornings you didn't want, the silence you broke, the weight you carried, the cost you paid. And you'll smile, because you already know you earned it and you paid in advance. Let me know when you're ready for the revised final 2 chapters. They will include the narrative callback, emotional elevation, and a subtle, organic mid-speech CTA exactly where it hits deepest. Chapter 5. The other side of the door. You've felt the fear, you've paid the price, you've made the ask, and now you want to know what's on the other side. What's the reward for the pain, the patience, the nights you almost gave up? Let's get something straight right now. It's not just the title, not the bank account, not the recognition or the win or the smile from someone who finally notices. Those things are real and they matter, but they're not it. Because the greatest reward, the one that lasts, isn't what you achieve, it's who you become on the way there. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth. It's what happens when life breaks you open and you come back stronger, wiser, more whole. Not because the suffering was noble, but because you refused to let it be wasted. Ask anyone who's walked through fire and come out the other side, they'll tell you the same thing. It wasn't the outcome that changed them. It was the becoming. There's a woman named Riley, single mum, 2 kids, left an abusive marriage with nothing but a duffel bag and a borrowed car, lived in a shelter, cleaned houses, studied at night. For 3 years, no one clapped, no one saw, until the day her kids watched her walk across the stage to accept her nursing degree. And you know what she said? It wasn't the diploma that changed me. It was knowing I didn't quit on myself. That's the treasure. That quiet, unshakable dignity that no one can take. Because here's the part you can't fake. You don't come out the same. You come out with clarity, with gratitude, with a gravity in your presence that didn't exist before. You find yourself laughing louder, listening deeper, forgiving faster, because you remember who you were when everything hurt and how far you've come since then. And maybe, just maybe, that voice inside starts to change. From "I'm not ready to look how far I've already come," from "what if I fail" to "what if I rise." You stop needing permission, you stop needing applause. And when you see someone else at the edge of their own door, paralyzed, afraid, unsure, you lean in and whisper something you wish someone had said to you. You've already got what it takes, just walk through. That's when you become more than someone who made it. That's when you become someone who returns with the elixir. You become the mentor, the torchbearer, the proof. And that's the part no one talks about. You start this journey thinking you're chasing something for yourself. But if you keep going, if you keep paying, keep showing up, keep walking through the fear, you end up becoming the kind of person who changes other people's lives just by existing. That's the real treasure. So if this is hitting home, if you felt that gate, faced that price, made that ask, send this to someone standing at their own threshold, someone who needs to hear that the pain is worth it, that the silence doesn't last forever, that the other side is real, because they might not believe it yet, but you do. And now it's your turn to hold the door open. Chapter 6. The Eternal Ticket. Most people think you pay once, that if you're brave enough, strong enough, lucky enough to make it through, the fear disappears, the tests stop, and the road gets smooth. But it doesn't, because the cost of admission isn't a one-time payment, it's a lifetime subscription to growth. Every new chapter brings a new toll, a new threshold, a new version of you asking the same ancient question, am I willing to pay again? You'll face it when your child struggles and you don't have the answers. When you outgrow a job that used to feel like a dream, when the person you love drifts away and you have to choose between bitterness or growth, the fear will knock again. And this time, you'll recognize it, because now you've heard that sound before. The cold whisper, the tightening chest, the doubt clawing at your gut. Only now you know what it means. It means something is about to stretch you, break you open, lift you higher. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." He wasn't offering comfort. He was giving you a compass. The obstacle is the path. The resistance is the invitation. The cost is the point. You're not here to play it safe. You're here to evolve. Nietzsche called it amor fati, love of fate, not just acceptance of pain, but a radical embrace of it. A willingness to look life dead in the eye and say, whatever comes, I'll use it, because once you stop resisting difficulty, it stops defeating you. It becomes your teacher, your training, your truth. And something else happens. You begin to think differently about legacy. You realize that the struggles you face now will one day be someone else's survival guide, that your scars might become someone else's roadmap, that your story, the one with all the mess and the doubt and the ache, might be the reason someone else keeps going. And what greater reward is there than that? To know that your fight mattered, not just to you, but to someone else. That's what it means to carry the eternal ticket. It means you stop asking, when will it get easier? And start asking, how much deeper can I go? It means you don't flinch when the next challenge shows up. You nod, you breathe, you whisper, I've been here before. And you move, because the greatest version of you is not found in comfort. It's built in the cost, forged in the decision to keep paying, stamped over and over by moments you thought might break you, but didn't. And now you know the truth. The price never stops, but neither will you, because you're not just passing through the fire, you are becoming it. And the world is watching. Let it burn.